well, we've got Project Zombie back in the shop. What do you think, Ashton? We gonna get some work done on this fine machine here? It's a fine machine. Well, it will be when it gets finished. So we brought the car back in finally. Spent the last couple months getting some smaller jobs finished up and doing some maintenance on my own vehicles that needed to be done. So now we've got this car inside to finish up setting up this side to get our quarter panel put on. Now, I haven't been recording much of what's been going on with Project Zombie because I've been trying to work out just the procedure I wanted to go through to get the quarter panel changed on these cars. Because as you may remember back in some of the previous videos on this series, they don't make 70 coronet quarter panels. So we have to adapt 69 quarter panels to fit the cars, which they're really close. There's two major changes that they make, and one of them being what Ashton is holding on to here is this cove detail that's in the quarter panels. On the 68 and 9s, it's reversed from this in two separate small coves. The last 4 or 5 inches or so, the quarter panel has a different profile to it, so that has to be changed out also. So what we've done so far, we've got the inner wheelhouse changed, the outer wheelhouse changed. We've got these nice panels made by US Car Tool that allow for a bigger set of tires to go inside without rubbing. We've got those installed. We've fixed a lot of small areas that have had rust damage. I've got my rain gutter put in for the right side quarter panel, so I know where the quarter is going to sit at, and the corner piece. Dutchman panel is in. I replaced this inner quarter panel because it had a big hole cut in it here. I've made some patches on the rocker panel. I have one more patch to make here, and that'll leave the rocker panel fixed. Then we're going to go ahead and coat all of this inside of here with Pour 15, where you see it rusty. So that'll encapsulate the rust and protect it from any future rust. Okay, so the next thing to do with the car here to get the quarter panel ready, I've purposely left this section where the cove is on here because this has to get grafted into the new quarters. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drill 3/8 inch pilot holes into this piece through the lock pillar. That'll locate this piece to where it's supposed to be attached to the lock pillar. Then I'm going to go ahead and get the quarter panel set on, get it fit where it needs to be. Once it's set, then I'll go from the inside and drill through those holes through the new quarter panel. So that's going to give me the location of where this piece is going to set at, so that I can sit this piece over top of those holes, scribe my mark in the new quarter, and then I'll know where to cut out for this piece to set at inside that new quarter panel. And it's a lot of work to go through just to get this detail back in the quarter, but it is the one thing that does differentiate the 70 models from the 68 and 69s. Well, one of the things. There are several changes they made for the 70 model here, but this is one of them that they made, and they don't make the quarter panels, so we have to adapt this into the new quarters. So I'm going to go ahead and get to work on this and get the rest of this rocker panel fixed up and get with painting the inside of this and getting the quarter set on it.
So we got this thingy right here loose, and we need to scrape this coat off, and we need to get these parts out of here, and get this little thingy out.
Okay, so yesterday I went ahead and I finished up this one small repair I needed to do on the bottom side of the rocker panel here. And then I prepped this area inside of here and this C-pillar support area, and I coated everything with some 415 rust encapsulator. So you can see everything looks nice and cleaned up now, and it'll be well protected for the future. I didn't do this area mainly because this is a new panel, and 415 is designed to be applied over top of surfaces that have rust on them. that are not rusty to the point where they're perforated, but have a surface rust on them to where you can just clean them up with a wire brush, which is what I did. I went over everything with a wire brush and just knocked off any loose dirt, scale, small pieces of debris, blew everything off, and then gave everything a good coat with 415, and that seals everything in and protects it from any future damage because it was uncoated. Now this area here in the new wheelhouse can be this can be sanded down, DA sanded down, and coated with an epoxy primer, which is what I would do before I put the quarter panel on this car permanently. Now I'm going to fit the quarter panel on today just as a rough fit. I'm not going to permanently attach it. I will attach it with some Tech screws just so it is held on the car. Reason being, and I didn't mention this earlier in the video, but this project is taking a new direction. So there's some big changes coming up with Project ZomBEE that you'll see at the end of this video or in a follow-up video to this one. I'm not sure just how long this video is going to be, so we may announce it at the end of this video, or I may do a separate video on the direction where Project ZomBEE is going. And it's exciting. I'm sure everybody's going to be waiting to see just what's going to happen with the car, but I can't say anything just yet. So let me get to fitting this quarter on so it's ready to be set on here when the time comes, and we'll see how everything's going to fit. Okay, so these are our new quarter panels. Again, these are 69 Coronet quarter panels. Full quarters, sail panel, everything included in these. These are the only quarters available for Coronets. You had 68s and 69s. I believe the 68s have been discontinued. They never made 70s. So you're basically left with having to use 69 quarters on 8, 9, and 70 model Coronets if you want to put new quarters on. The main difference, as I mentioned before, with these quarters, and the biggest area is back here on the tail end of the quarter. These quarter panels are about 2 inches longer than the 70s. The 70s have a bigger end cap that bolts onto the taillight panel than the 68s and 69s did. So that means we've got a lot of extra material back here, plus there is a difference in the profile at the back of these quarter panels. The 68 and 69s kind of take a slight upward turn, and the 70 models come at the back and they start to take a downward dip. But being as we have a lot of extra material, I don't think it's going to be an issue, because I believe, and I haven't checked this yet because I haven't laid these quarters on, but I believe the extra length is about where the differences are in the upwards and downward profiles on these quarter panels. So that may work in our advantage. Our taillight panel has enough material left on it to give me that downward that I need, so I can blend these two ends together, which is what we have to do with these. We got to blend the old and the new. So besides having to change the cove in the front, you got to change the back section area. Everything else is the same. The body lines at the top, along the top of the quarter, are the same. The center body line is the same. So it works out to where these are usable. Just takes a little bit of time and work. So the first thing I'm going to do, I need to cut this out here. This is the area where the end cap bolts on to the 69 model. So we're not going to use this at all. This is also where it would attach to the taillight panel. So again, this has to go away because it's different. So I'm going to get this out of the way so that these quarters will lay on top of the tail panel section without any interference. Okay. Batteries went dead while I was trial fitting the quarter panel the first time. I don't know how much I recorded yet because I haven't looked back. But the one thing I ran into, this bracket here, which is a kind of a little brace that keeps the back of this window opening from flopping around. There's a lip in the window opening that has to go over top of this. And it comes to about here. Now in order to get this panel on, this has to go over top of here. The quarter has to go under here. And we got to go over the top, the front part of this lock pillar. All at the same time. Not going to happen. So what I'm going to do is remove this bracket. And I'm going to attach it to the quarter panel, which is sitting over there. Weld that on there. Then this will go in, and then I'll be able to just retack it inside of here, and everything will be good. Alright, let's take a try at this again. I got my bracket welded on inside of here. You can't see it, but it's there. Let's see how this goes in now. Need the quarter to go forward. Well, at least this section in here needs to come forward about 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch so that my window gutter opening and trunk opening lines up. That's where I'm at with it right now. You don't like looking at the back of my head, but alright, so I gotta see where my quarter's hanging up at. There's probably just 1 or 2 spots that's got a little bend in it or a little kink that's going the wrong way. I need to get this up underneath of here a little bit further. This whole thing's got to go forward some, and that'll get these openings to line up, and that'll leave this quarter set pretty good. Okay, so I've done a little bit of trimming on this panel, just a couple small spots just to make the panel go in easier. One place I trimmed was up inside of here, which you'll never see, and then just a little notch out of this corner here where it meets the striker plate, or the door lock pillar I should say, just to get this to push in all the way that it needs to be. Now the other thing I've done before I start screwing this panel together, I've set my jack under here and just put a little bit of pressure on that rear frame rail. You remember before in the other videos in this series I showed how to set the car up, take your measurements, set your car up on jack stands so that you don't get any sag in the back. Well, if I try to put this quarter on the way it is, or the way it was, just sitting on the lift with the frame rails sagging in the back, this door gap was not right. So it was a lot bigger at the top than at the bottom. So I took some pressure off the back, jacked the back of the frame rail up, and now my door gap is much better. So we've got a good door gap there. We've got good alignment up here where our window bed is, and we've got good alignment here in our trunk corner. Everything lines up really nice. A radius comes around. So we're gonna go ahead and get some screws out and start screwing this panel to the body so that it's got a good firm hold to everything, and then we'll be back as soon as I get that set. so we got our panel screwed on. Not coming off. On there good and solid. And that's going to leave this ready to be trimmed up. This back section probably going to come in about right here, it would, to trim it down to about here and then back, and then graft that last section of the original quarter panel that's left on that taillight panel to this new quarter. This body line is the same in the back. This one here is the same. So everything is the same except when you get to the last 4 inches. Go ahead, talk.
So we got this. We need to paint this car, and we need to take this off. And we need to take that off right there, and maybe we have to take off that part right there by the window.
Yeah.
And we need to take this off.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it's got floor in it now, huh? This is probably the most we've ever seen this car together since we've had it here, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who drives it here?
Well, Kevin that owns the car. So what we wanted to show everybody was this piece that we put on here. Did you see this piece I put back on? See, that's part of the old quarter panel. So, like I explained earlier, I drilled 3 locator holes in this graft piece. And then once I got this quarter on, I drilled from the back side out, so all my holes are in a line. Now I'm able to stick this piece back on, lined up with these holes using a Cleco, or you could use some self-tapping screws, either way.
I want to talk.
And I can take a scribe and scribe around this, and I can get my opening size for where we need to graft in this different cove section. So that's how I was going to get this set in where it needs to go, and not have to worry about whether or not it's in the right place by taking measurements and jumping through hoops and everything else. I figured this was going to be the most precise way I could get this back set in where it needed to be.
Alright, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Alright, well, we are here today, and I've got with me Mr. Kevin Shaw, Editor-in-Chief of Mopar Connection magazine, and he's the one that brought me this wonderful project to do for him. No, I kid. This was an exciting project that I did look forward to doing. Big challenge, and I'm always looking to take on a challenge in a project. But as time's gone by, the project is now taking a new direction, and I mentioned a little bit about that earlier in this video, but I'm going to let Kevin give a quick rundown of how things are changing and what's in store for Project ZomBEE.
Well, as is with most project cars, the one thing that kills a car is the most dangerous words a car guy can say to himself, and that is, while I'm at it. And unfortunately, there was a lot of while we're at it with this car, and because of the difficult nature of a 70 Super B compared to, say, a 68 or a 69, and that so much is unique to this car, it held up a lot of the progress on it. But at the exact same time, we actually were in communications with Direct Connection, and Direct Connection is making a really strong effort to try to get more interaction with media and to get a little bit more tutorial content out, especially in regards to their 3rd Gen Hemi Swap catalog. And in a partnership with Direct Connection, Mopar Connection magazine is going to be using this car as a tutorial on 3rd Gen Hemi swaps. Cool. We're going to be doing a real long breakdown of all the different little things that are A, available through the Direct Connection catalog, and B, how to install it yourself. We're not going to go super crazy. It is probably going to be a Hellcat engine because we want to also problem solve the issues when it comes to putting a supercharged engine in something like this, right, so that a lot of guys who do want to, say, put a Hellcat motor in, or even a 392, they can put it in their Dart Sport or their Barracuda, whatever the project may be, and not totally go bananas. We're not doing a full chassis. We're not doing something really radical. Yeah. But we are pairing up.
So it's still going to kind of have that premise of what can you do at home with one of these cars?
Right. Yeah, that's big. that's basically the impetus of the whole project, is to be able to be a really good encyclopedia of, okay, well listen, we're gonna, what steering boxes are we gonna use, or what headers are we gonna use, or how am I gonna wire this, and do I need to change my column, and all the different things that come with putting a 3rd gen Hemi, especially a supercharged 3rd gen Hemi, in your classic Mopar. So that's what the future of ZomBEE is going to be, but I'm sure we're another year and a half out before we even start seeing any progress on that. We need to actually have a solid rolling car first.
Right.
And the guys at Finale Speed, who are making those radical carbon fiber 70 chargers, they were crazy enough to say, yeah, we'll do that.
So they're crazy like me.
Yeah. All screws are super loose. And I tried to talk them out of it, but they would not take no for an answer.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear that they are still doing metal work.
Yes.
Not just trashing everything and just, oh, we're going to make it all out of carbon fiber.
No. Yeah, one of the neat things actually about Finale Speed and their relationship with Direct Connection is that in addition to doing all these carbon fiber chargers, they actually have the permission and all this and access to all the stampings that will allow them to do anything pre-77, I believe was the cutoff date. So effectively, if you wanted to build an Aspen, I guess they could do it. I can't imagine a lot of guys would, but hey, all right, whatever floats your boat.
There's got to be another generation of car guys that love those cars. So.
Oh, certainly, I know. I'm just being a snot. But yeah, when it comes to ZomBEE, it has a potential of being a really, really fun project. But I am not leaving you empty-handed. I'm trading out another boat anchor.
He's brought me something else. He didn't want me to be left out in the cold.
Well, beware of Irishmen bearing gifts. But what I am bringing to Dave is actually Mopar Connection's most popular project car. And that has been really the biggest surprise of all of our 9 years of publishing. Yeah. And that is our 70 Plymouth Fury that we call Project Marcia. Yeah. Thankfully, Marcia is not like this.
No, Marcia's got a little bit more meat left on her than what this has, so it shouldn't be as difficult a project to tackle. All the difficult part is coming from the fact that they don't make anything for these cars.
No.
So there'll be a little bit of fabrication involved, a little bit of what we have available. Can we make it work? Can we make it fit? Same problems you guys are going to run into at home, we're going to show you how to tackle.
Yeah, that's one of the neatest things. Now, thankfully, Marcia is a running, driving car, so you're not blowing your back out trying to push it in the shop. You can fire it up. You can put the top down. Heck, you could take the grandkids out for ice cream if you wanted. That's totally fine. Just be careful because we got the Flintstone floor option on ours.
We'll take care of the Flintstone floor option before we start taking her out to any cruising.
Good. All right. Well, other than that, if you have any questions about Marcia, please let me know. I know I got a couple more trips to get you. Murray Park just found us a rear bumper, so we're not having to worry about the rear bumper being wadded up because the original owner backed into a support pylon in his barn.
That's a big help.
Yes, and then we have the lower quarters, which are not great, but they're something.
Yeah. And
then the floor patches will be at your door in the next couple weeks.
Great. So, if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to Mopar Connection magazine online. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Just give him your email address and he'll send you a copy every week. Every day there's new articles that come out on something that's going on in the Mopar world. So you'll get to follow what happens to Project ZomBEE, whether or not it even stays that name anymore. And you'll get to see the progression of Marcia go from the barnyard find to a beauty.
That's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a hoot. We've already built the transmission. We already did the third member swap, where we put a True Track with 323 gears.
Yeah. And
the transmission's already done, and we're already working on the 440.
Yeah.
So when Marcia's all done and pretty, she's going to get a new powertrain.
There you go. And you can find all those upgrades that were done to Marcia on Mopar Connection's YouTube channel also, where Kevin's been doing all these upgrades, little short videos on what's been being done to Marcia and other things that are going on around with Mopar Connection magazine. So make sure you sign up for that too.
Thank you very much. And Dave, thank you for all the work on ZomBEE. I know it was a chore, and it was quite a bit of problem solving. Hopefully I gave
Yeah.
you something that was a little less of a puzzle.
Well, like I said, it was a challenge trying to figure out how to make stuff fit, but you know, and also it gave me a chance to install some of these newer parts from some of your advertisers that I haven't had a chance to put in yet. So
Yeah, there's some really
a
neat
little bit of
stuff.
experience with that, so I appreciate all that. And like I said, anything I can help with, you know, I'm always available.
Great, thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.